This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, May 9th of 2025. We are so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I have a conversation with U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Halstrom as he discusses some ramen companies in Japan that are starting to use some underutilized meat cuts from the U.S. We'll also have a check of the closing markets with the folks from agmarket.net. But first, here's Dan Halstrom as he talks about the work to find new uses for U.S. pork and how that has led to a Japanese ramen chain to switch from EU pork belly to U.S. false lean.
The pork carcass, we're constantly in our various offices looking at opportunities to add value. And, it's even more important today with the uncertain trade situation and some headwinds in some of these, economic headwinds in some of these key markets. So, we've had some success here recently in our Japan market. Ramen noodle chain actually called Ramen Kagetsu. They have 250 restaurants throughout the whole country of Japan. And we've recently worked with them to shift their current supply source, which was dependent upon EU pork belly. And we're now effective in May of 2025. They will be shifting over to using U.S. false lean. And false lean is a piece off the boneless loin on the shoulder end, very flavorful and marbled. And so this is really a good example of adding value, as false lean typically would go into trimmings or into some sort of lower value further processing. And the fact that we have positioned it into the center of the plate, so to speak, in food service, we're really excited about that.
Halstrom said there's also a second Japan ramen company that is switching from Mexican product to U.S. pork cushion meat.
A chain by the name of Karakaya has traditionally been using Mexico pork picnic as their protein source for their ramen noodle dishes. And we've worked with them. We've gone in and we've positioned U.S. pork cushion meat, which is actually the heart of that picnic, the most tender part. Effective in May of this year, we'll see 100% switch from Mexican picnics to U.S. cushion meat, and the usage rate is about 1,000 metric tons per year. So this is very significant in terms of a volume shift. And the other thing to remember is the picnic can be difficult to cook and prepare properly. And especially the cushion meat. It's very easy to overcook, for example, and make it tough. So we work with these food service chains, in this case, Karakaya. We help to train their chefs, their people that are managing these restaurants, and to really optimize the eating experience for the customers in Japan.
Halstrom said the U.S. Meat Export Federation is continuing to work with the food service sector to find solutions for consumers that meet both price and quality demands.
These companies, whether they're food service companies or retail for that matter, but in this case, the food service companies, they're looking for alternatives. They're looking for organizations like USMEF to work with our trade to come in and provide them options. What are some other options? And they don't accept all options, but in this case, with the false lean and also with the cushion meat, these options have worked and the price points are lower. This is a good example of teaming up in the partnership between a U.S. industry and a Japanese industry. And this is what it's all about: developing partnerships, bringing them options, and ultimately further solidifying that loyal commitment to U.S. pork and beef, for that matter, with the Japanese market.
Halstrom added that the U.S. Meat Export Federation isn't just trying to diversify where U.S. meat products are sold, but also to diversify the products that are sold in pre-existing markets.
We're always trying to diversify the carcasses, diversify the product mix across many different markets. But it's also not only about diversifying the marketplace itself. And a lot of times, established markets like Japan, it's about diversifying within that market. So in this case, we've identified a market within a market, this ramen noodle food service sector, which maybe was not so much of a focus in the past, is definitely a focus today. So finding markets within markets is also an opportunity to add value, as well as finding brand new markets around the world.
That again was U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Halstrom. That's all the time we have for the news segment today. Coming up next, we'll have a check of the closing markets with the folks from agmarket.net. But first, here's a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, in the Soy Checkoff. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and we're talking now with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net for our closing market summary. First off, Curt, what do we see going on in the grain markets today?
Well, we were able to squeak out some higher closes on the day. Corn is up 2 to 3, soybeans up 5, 6, 4, 5, 6 cents. Wheat took it on the chin, down about 7 to 8 cents. But when you look at the weekly scale, boy, we gave up some ground here this week. Corn down 8, 19 cents on the weekly chart. Soybeans down 1 to 7. Well, Chicago wheat down 21 cents a bushel. So priced in a lot of negative news, took a lot of weather premium out of the marketplace. So we're kind of in a position here where these lows we made this week need to kind of dig in and hold for the most part. News-wise, did see his administration kind of visit with the UK there. It looks like beef and ethanol's going to be freed up to move into those countries. And we'll see how the negotiations go as we move a little further down the road with some of these other countries, particularly China.
And with that negotiation with China right now, that's what it is at this point. This weekend is just the start of the negotiation, so we're not really expecting to see any news come out quite yet, are we?
No, it's going to be tough. Some of the other facts is happening with China. They've stopped putting out some data information to everybody, so you have to question what's going on. Did see China buy some Australian wheat, 400 to 500,000 tons, starting to secure supplies from other countries. So, we'll see how this unfolds. But, other countries are okay. Mexico came in and bought a couple big lots of corn here yesterday and today on Friday. Pakistan buying some U.S. soybeans, new crop. So we'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, that tariff news is, like you mentioned, going to be up and down for quite some time. But the big thing will be the monthly supply demand report on Monday morning at 11 a.m. We'll have our first new crop balance sheet to look at. And it's kind of the start of the season here as far as adding or subtracting supply.
And then over at agmarket.net, what are some of the expectations of things that we might see on that May WASDE report?
Great question. A lot of different opinions, slight changes. The old crop corn demand remains very, very strong. There's ideas that the exports could be increased 50 to 100 million bushel. Whether they do it on this report or not, we'll have to see because of the tariff news still out there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the estimate following trade expectations about 30 million bushels less on this report. We'll see how that comes out. The bean number, maybe old crop beans down 5-6 million bushels on the ending stocks. New crop ending stocks, corn over 2 billion bushels. New crop bean ending stocks at 375 million bushels. But those new crop estimates are going to change from month to month according to what they feel the yield's going to be.
And like you mentioned, that UK trade deal offering some kind of future strength to the beef marketplace. As for today, though, how did those cattle and hogs trade?
Yeah, the beef sector continues to be like a bottle rocket. We're talking cash trade 220 to 230. Man, it's on fire in through here. You have to take a loan to go buy a hamburger somewhere. It's it's really in there. But on the day, front end up 40, the back end down about 50. On the weekly chart, up about 350. So the beef sector moved into some new highs. The key is like you said, this world trade on beef, because the hormone factor and so forth. We'll see how that unfolds. Might have to buy a pork burger instead. We saw hogs anywhere from 40 to higher to a little bit lower on the day. They were down about $1.70 on the week. But the main thing on the meat sector is nice weather for grilling out this coming week.
All right, Curt, lots of great information today for anyone who would like to get in touch with agmarket.net. How can they do that?
1-800-779-1515 or agmarket.net.
Great talking with you as always, Curt, and we look forward to chatting again soon.
You bet. Take care.
That again was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. We'll take a look at how the numbers close through the market tab at iowaagnet.com. July corn up 2 1/4 at 4.49 3/4. July soybeans up 6 3/4 at 10.51 3/4. July soybean meal down 60 cents at 2.9410. Soybean oil up 12 cents at 48.57. Chicago wheat down 7 1/2 at 5.21 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 7 1/4 at 5.17 1/2. Minneapolis spring wheat down 6 even at 5.94 3/4. July oats down 2 even at 3.43 3/4. On the Merc, June live cattle up 42 cents at 2.1467. May feeders up 50 cents at 2.9797. June lean hogs up 40 cents at 97.57. Pork cutout went unchanged at 104.12, and May class 3 milk down 14 cents at 18.42. That's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM, and that also brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. Also follow us on social media at Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok, and find our video content as well as previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free morning, midday, and closing market podcast, as well as the Iowa Ag Matters podcast and Pods of Potential, which just recently released its 19th episode. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson, Andy Peterson, and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.